Josh Pate, who I like, who has been on Locked On Big 12 before, comes to the table on his show this week and says, I love the Big 12. It's my favorite conference. Will I talk about them on this show? Absolutely not.
Of course not.
But I love the Big 12. And that, of course, is paraphrasing. It's very much paraphrasing, but someone called him out on Twitter, on Reddit and Twitter both, I guess, saying that Josh Pate is not a Big 12 fan, not a Big 12 guy. He treats it like a Make-A-Wish conference when he talks about it. Like, oh, look how cute and fun they are. And Pate kind of opened a segment about this and was like, yeah, you're spot on there. Because what he said, in essence, is the same thing as saying, I'm the host of Locked On Big 10, but I won't say anything about Purdue football because it doesn't get me clicks or views. My listeners don't want to hear about it. It's the ESPN model. It's the on-3 model. It's the play the hits model. We're going to have to do, like, there's no way we can talk about the Big 12. And he keeps saying, because I'm a national show. I can't talk about the Big 12. He didn't say it explicitly that he needs to talk about the Big 10 and the SEC, but that's where the money is made. We're moving out of an era where we can just listen to a podcast, listen to a national football show that's going to pick like, oh, big storyline, big thing from this conference. And instead, it's just the SEC, it's just the Big 10, and it's really just the SEC.
Yeah, and like, look, I mean, industry secret here. There are all things, like for all of us that do shows, there are things that we might want to talk about.
When was your last equestrian episode?
I mean, yeah, like there you have it.
To me, the Big 12's not equestrian. Sorry, equestrian.
Well, sure. But
and
also
the girl in college who was on the equestrian team.
But also, like, there are times where you kind of have to talk about it. And like, I saw this and thinking of the Big 12 this past year. I know they didn't have 4 teams in the playoff, but you had a pretty outstanding story of a team that was picked to finish last in this conference, winning the conference and going to the playoff. They had one of the most entertaining players in college football in Cam Scadaboo. And we want to talk about most entertaining players in college football, like maybe the best player in college football. I wonder what conference he played in. I wonder who has the most famous head coach in college football. Like it's happening here in the Big 12. And so, yeah, maybe, if Iowa State gets a big win over Kansas State, but it's the same week as the Iron Bowl, you're not talking as much about Farmageddon, but we're talking about ignoring an entire conference here.
But the Iron Bowl doesn't mean as much anymore.
Well, yes,
push
sure.
back on that, like it's insane to me that instead of being like, you know what, hey, and there's a great comment on this was posted on Twitter by Derek Duke, who covers the Big 12 very well, by the way. The comment says from Jack Barr. So he is saying he thinks there is merit to pushing the perspective that the Big 12 belongs, but there are too many people who believe otherwise who just tells them what they want to hear.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be the one that pushes that. Yeah.
But I love him.
And he says in there too, right? What does he say at the beginning? He says something like, that's great for you guys talking on Reddit, but I have a show. And he immediately says, he goes, I'm not trying to sound douchey. I'm not. And then later on, he goes, as if to not sound douchey again, he's like, the network wanted me to go to the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
I didn't. The next was the SEC championship game. Where did I go? I went to Arlington. I went to that game. It was like, oh, thank you, Josh Pate. Please forgive us. Thank you. You went to a game. You did a show all that week leading up to it and a show all the week after it about all the other conferences, but you did go to that game. Thank you. We're done here.
I find it so interesting. And this is where, it was great. Pate said something along the lines, he was misquoted or something about the Big 12 not being a power conference or a power league because of its recruiting a few weeks ago. And Spencer McLaughlin does a show about it. Pate actually tweets at Spencer and is like, should have invited me on your show. Would have explained it. And so Spencer,
better than having you on the show.
Spencer invites him on the show. Pate doesn't ever respond to the invite.
That's a classic move, by the way.
It's like, this was a guy who rose from the ashes. This felt like the Shane Gillis of college football podcasters for a bit. We're like, that's the everyman. We all love Josh Pate. And you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It is insane to me.
It's kind of like me at Locked On Baylor, by the way. Pretty similar. Yeah.
You're fairly cynical. Everyone in that chair, you become that at year 2. in this scenario with Josh Pate, it's like, I still like you. You still got the Gillis deal to him where you're like, okay, he's not ESPN. He still has the funny logo and it doesn't look as professional as a studio show like Stephen A. Smith has. And there's something endearing about that. But wild to me, come to the table. You guys are accusing me of a lot of stuff. You guys are saying a lot of mean things about me. You're saying I don't love the Big 12. I do love the Big 12. I'm just not going to talk about them.
You've got to trust me on this one.
It's a crazy apology. I don't know what he was trying to get at, or at least just put to rest. Hey, you can keep saying these things on Reddit because they're true. Because and in that where the original Reddit post says he treats the Big 12 like a Make-A-Wish conference. And Pate, in response to that, was like, hey, man, I loved the Arizona State story. I loved those little ragtag guys who got out there and did their bad. The Cinderella story, he called it. Like, you're being accused of making the Big 12 a Make-A-Wish. And somehow it's just wild. He kind of folded into, Reddit's kind of right about this one.
He's like, the Big 12, if there's two things that conference loves, it's the ladies and John Cena. Like, this is how he's treating this. Like, he is just like, yeah, those guys, they have a ton of fun out there, man. It's like, it's just, to use a great pun here, I guess, because it fits. It's really patronizing. You like that?
Good.
I know what that word means. I learned it like 6 months ago.
Not to be a douchebag, to quote one of my favorite podcasters. Not to be a douchebag. I bought a house.
It's going to take a lot of work, by the way.
I bought a house recently.
Okay, yeah, that's 24-year-old buying a house. Yeah, that's
one of my favorite tweets that I got from a burner account was, who gave Drake Toll enough money to buy a house? He doesn't deserve that, which is great. He had like 30 likes, too.
As I sit in here in an apartment where you can hear the dinner being made, yeah.
These things occurred, right? Because the Big 12 pays my bills, not the conference itself, but hosting. I don't even get to host a national show where I get to discuss, how good Carson Beck is or wax poetic about Arch Manning. No, I'm within the confines of Cincinnati, UCF, BYU, and Baylor. And that pays my bills because there are people who love the Big 12. There are T-shirt randos who like to click on the first 15 seconds of a video about the SEC, so you get 200,000 views. But there are people who actually like to digest and hear about the Big 12 conference.
Not to peel back the curtain too much, it is one of the best performing podcasts in our great network. The Big 12 has fans. They've got a reach. They've got people.
But you got to understand, it's a national show, so we can't talk about them here. Spencer McLaughlin would never talk about the Big 12 on Locked On College Football.
Nope, never had me on. That's for sure.
No,
never had me on for a good segment. I'll give him that.
Is it the Ash Wednesday today?
Oh yeah. Go thank Mark Wahlberg for dying for our sins.
Congratulations, everybody, for Ash Wednesday.
The 40-day Mark Wahlberg challenge, I believe, is what they call it.
Yes, it is. At Real Cam Stewart on Twitter.
Shout out to the Catholics. BC, terrible branding. Oof.
Formerly known as X. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.